This afternoon, we assess the past 6 months of nuclear diplomacy with Iran and ask if a viable agreement is achievable by November 24th. The administration, along with the United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, and Germany, has been seeking to negotiate a long-term comprehensive solution to Iran's nuclear program since last fall. With these negotiations, Iran has agreed to limit its nuclear program in return for some sanctions relief. Should a final agreement be reached, it would permit Iran to maintain a mutually defined enrichment program and be treated like any other non-nuclear weapon state party to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. At the outset of these negotiations, the administration aggressively pushed back on congressional attempts to give our negotiators more leverage with added sanctions to go into force should negotiations fail. The legislation that Ranking Member Engel and I authored, and frankly was passed with 400 votes out of the House of Representatives, would have given Iran's leadership a choice between compromise and economic collapse. We'll never know if that prospect would have made a difference over the past 6 months, but we do know that talks haven't accomplished much to date without this pressure. Indeed, just days before the recent deadline, the Iranian foreign minister was offering an Iranian freeze of its current 19,000 centrifuges for several years. Is the status quo the best Iran is offering after 6 months of negotiation? A status quo, by the way, that has Iran enriching more uranium. The committee has continued its intense focus on Iran, holding a series of hearings, and among the challenges, non-proliferation specialists told us that even if the number of Iran's centrifuges were drastically cut to 4,000, Iran would still have a breakout capacity of just 3 months. Of course, Iran's supreme leader is pushing for some 190,000 centrifuges. Experts stressed that an effective verification regime would require measures that go well beyond those in the standard safeguards agreement and the additional protocol. Former U.S. and IAEA officials noted that failing to understand the possible military dimensions of Iran's nuclear program would make it impossible to verify that Iran's nuclear program is completely peaceful in nature. It took 17 years for the IAEA to conclude that South Africa's nuclear program was entirely peaceful, and that was with the cooperation of its new government. Iran is mightily resisting this critical transparency. Former Secretary of State Clinton warned this weekend that any enrichment inside Iran will trigger an arms race in the Middle East. Also, many don't realize that any limits placed on Iran's nuclear program as part of the comprehensive solution will expire. In this respect, the final agreement is just another interim step, with the real final step being the treatment of Iran as any other non-nuclear weapon NPT state. That means no sanctions, no restrictions on procurement of nuclear items, and certainly no restrictions on the number of centrifuges it can spin or the level to which it may enrich uranium. With such status, Iran could enrich on an industrial scale, claiming the desire to sell enriched uranium on the international market, as does France. Iran could also enrich uranium to levels near the weapons grade, claiming the desire to power a nuclear navy. That is what Brazil is doing. Of course, Iran isn't France. Iran is not Brazil. That was evident when the committee examined Iran's behavior across the board. We heard from one former Iranian political protester and former prisoner that at least 750 people have been executed in Iran without due process in the past year. Today, Iran's work, the work of the regime, is on full display as hundreds of rockets and missiles have rained down on southern Israel, some 2,500 in total. It is Iran that provides the weapons, provides funding, provides training to Hamas and other Palestinian terror groups. As one former intelligence official testified, Iran's nuclear program is just the tip of a revolutionary spear that extends across the world and threatens key U.S. interests. Ambassador Sherman, you have your work cut out for you. I'm not sure how we reach an agreement that advances U.S. national security, given Iran's deep commitment to an extremely dangerous nuclear program, but one thing is clear: come November and no deal, there will be additional sanctions if there is no deal that is struck. But as the administration charts its course, I trust that you will be in close touch with this committee. That's especially important given the significant changes to our Iran sanctions policy that are to be considered. And as you know, Mr. Engel and I recently sent a letter to the President, signed by 340 of our colleagues, expecting such close coordination. America is stronger when we work together, and I now recognize the ranking member for any opening comments he may have.